I'm your host, James Yoder. You're watching the Michigan Football Report. We are going to take your questions here on the show, diving into all things surrounding Jim Harbaugh's number 3 ranked Michigan football team in the just recently released third college football playoff top 25. So as always, if you want to get your question on one of our shows, there's 2 ways typically. It's use hashtag Michigan or Super Chat. We're going to call that 1A, 1B, or we put calls for questions on the YouTube community, on my Twitter feed, and on our Facebook page every Tuesday or Wednesday, and sometimes Saturday after the game, depending on how the Michigan game goes. And we answer typically on any given week about 18 to 25 of those questions. Question coming in from Young Harbaugh. Jack, I think someone's trying to mimic you because that's your nickname. This is Jack's nickname. I think somebody changed their YouTube name to get in the feed. He says, I know it's early, but what do you think this team looks like next season in 2023? Good question. Maybe not at the right time, but I'll still answer it because you got the question here in the queue from a super chatter or whatever it was. Let's talk about Michigan's team next year. You're going to lose Ronnie Bell, as we told you about earlier in the show on the live show. And you're going to lose Olu Oluwatimi. You're going to lose Jake Moody for sure. Brad Robbins as well for sure. But other than that, you don't really have a ton of for sures across the line. Maybe like Ryan. I can't remember if Ryan Hayes is a 6th year off the top of my head or not. But you would likely be able to bring back at least 3 or 4 starting offensive linemen, depending on what Ryan Hayes. I'm pretty sure he's got 1 more year, guys. This is 5th year. He's got a 6 left for Michigan. Now, Blake Corum is going to leave, but Donovan Edwards. Okay. I think Michigan will address the running back position. J.J. McCarthy, I think they'll get a quarterback transfer to be a backup or a third stringer as well, like they did the quarterback from Texas Tech before last season. Going over to defense. I trust Michigan's defensive line no matter who the players are, but Mazi Smith's going to likely go to the NFL, leave a year or 2 with eligibility on the table with the COVID year. I think it's just 1 year he's got left. He could come back. But Mike Morris, to be determined, right? Just don't know about the injuries on him. Mike Morris could come back for another year next year. The rest of the defensive line certainly could. Ayabioki, right? 5th-year player. He's got another year next year, but will he, won't he? Really like what we see out of Mason Graham in the middle. So I don't think Michigan's going to drop off on the defensive line. On the linebacker group, Junior Colson coming into his junior year. Michael Barrett could come back. Nikhai Hill-Green will return. So you've got 3 starter-level players there. And then in the secondary, DJ Turner, I expect he can come back, but I do expect him to probably leave. But I think Rod Moore, R.J. Moten, and who am I missing? Makari Page will all come back as safeties unless one of them decides they're not getting enough playing time and transfer. I'd say R.J. Moten would be the most likely if someone did transfer, but no one's going to the NFL from that group. And then, G-Mon Green is technically he could come back for next year. He's got a 6 year of eligibility. I don't know if he will or not, but I think Michigan's going to be just fine with Will Johnson and some others there at corner. So I think next year is looking out to be a great year, right? If Michigan can win the Big Ten and go undefeated in the regular season, and if they can be competitive in the CFP, right? I'm not expecting them to win the national title. No, we are expecting them to win the national title. But if they don't, if they're competitive, it can't be like last year where they get blown out by Georgia and it's not a competitive game. If they're competitive in the CFP, win that semifinal, give it a game in the championship game, whatever it is, they don't look like they don't belong like they kind of did last year. I think this is a top 2 or 3 ranked team going into next year. The biggest question marks will be the running game without Blake Corum and the depth of the linebackers in a lot of ways, because Michigan has been playing kind of on thin ice all year. Nikhai Hill-Green out, and not really anyone who's developed underneath those guys. Jimmy Rolder and some others have gotten playing time, but not enough to really think that they're going to come through next season. Cruel Moti with the super. He says, start, bench, or cut. This is the question. This is super from earlier. Okay, cool. Start, bench, or cut, Hassan, Haskins, Blake Corum, or Mike Hart. I gave a more lengthy answer than I will now on the live show. What, about minute 61 or something like that, if you guys want to go back to the live show from Tuesday night. It pains me to say, but I would cut Hassan Haskins, not because I don't love him. I think what he did for Michigan last year and, being part of the program 2018 to 2021, I just absolutely never forget him. If I have another son, he's getting named Hassan. But he would, based on the fact that he was only 1 year as the true starter and it didn't reach the Heisman heights, he was right there, but not truly a Heisman contender like Blake Corum is. I would cut him. I would Blake Corum my backup, and Mike Hart would start. But if Blake Corum wins the Heisman, if they beat Ohio State, that means they beat Ohio State, they go undefeated, 2 straight wins versus the Buckeyes. He's going to win the Heisman Trophy, and if he does, he'd be the first true running back in Michigan football history. They've had 3 Heisman Trophy winners. Tom Harmon, a Mr. Everything. He was a running back, a quarterback, a punter, a kicker, a defensive lineman. Desmond Howard and Charles Woodson, right? You had a receiver and a defensive back. So being the first running back in Michigan football history to win the Heisman, he would be my number one in school history based on that one special year alone. If you guys have not yet, make sure you subscribe to the channel. We are going on 2 hours live here. We're at 2 hours live exactly. And we from Tuesday night, if you're watching this later in the week, this Michigan football audience mailbag comes from our Tuesday night live show. If you didn't join, that means you probably weren't subscribed, probably didn't have your notifications on to see that we went live. It's youtube.com/Michigan TV. Carl Corliss says, how about Jadyn Davis? Is he about to commit? Can he reclassify? Two great questions there. Two great questions. Number one is, unless I'm being lied to by people that I trust to give me whatever information they can from inside the halls of Michigan football. I talked to a couple people who were in Shedd-Belker Hall on Friday and Saturday last week for the home game against Nebraska, and the word is that he left the game, when his last trip there, right on the cusp of committing, but hasn't committed yet, but has given every indication the second his season is over, he's going to put the wheels in motion to be part of Michigan's recruiting class. Now, I think with J.J. McCarthy coming back for 2023, and based on the season's played out, it's not a guarantee that he's going to leave after next season as a junior, as an NFL prospect. We'll have to see on that. I don't think it'd be a bad thing for Jadyn Davis to try and reclassify, whether it's, I doubt it can be after this semester because that's a year and a half too early, but could he take more classes this spring and into the summer and be part of Michigan's team next fall, next summer? I think it'd be great if it's possible. We saw Quinn Ewers do it on almost no notice. He made the decision like June or May of his junior year in high school and was on Ohio State's campus 2.5 months later. So if he can do it, I would think it'd be a good idea since Michigan didn't really have any QB recruits in the 2022 class that you could really put, a crown on for the future. And so far in 2023, they missed out on Dante Moore, no one else coming down the pipeline. You don't want to have J.J. McCarthy leave after the 2023 season and have to be relying on either one of the guys that's backing him up right now, Davis Warren, Alex Orji or somebody like that, or a true freshman in Jadyn Davis. So it'd be a good thing, I think, for him to reclassify if he's able to. We'll see how it shakes out, but I do think he will commit within the next 16 days. 16 days. Okay. Caden Huffler says, Mike Hart, new assistant head coach with Biff leaving, #Michigan. Yes and no. That title or maybe the assistant or associate head coach, which is typically pre-Rich Rod, associate head coach was always kind of seen as like the senior assistant who's going to be there a long time. Think Fred Jackson or someone like that at Michigan that isn't in line to be a coordinator. So it's kind of like the old guy who's not looking for a head coaching job, not looking to be a coordinator. It doesn't fit the Mike Hart mold. Also, Biff Poggi was not technically part of the coaching staff. They called him an associate head coach or whatever. But in theory, he was Jim Harbaugh's chief of staff, right? You want to talk to Harbaugh, you went through Biff. He's the one who kind of massaged Harbaugh, not like that. He massaged relationships, and Harbaugh paused, yelled at someone, or Harbaugh was sick of somebody. He would go figure out the situation, communicate a little bit better than Jim Harbaugh did, and now he's going to be head coach. So I don't think that's the role for Mike Hart. But I don't necessarily know if Mike Hart is looking to move on that quickly. I do think that if he sticks around with Michigan, with the success they've had in the running game last year, this year, if he keeps that rolling, gets that chance to be an offensive play caller at Michigan in a couple of years, maybe Sharon Moore leaves after this year or next year, Mike Hart could become the true co-OC, maybe, and then he'll be primed to be a head coach somewhere else, by the time he's 40 years old, which is probably about 3 or 4 years from now. The Michigan Football Report is presented by BetUS, our sportsbook partner for the third straight season. Folks, go to chatsports.com/GoBlue. Jack, if you can get those links in the live chat, go in the live chat if you're watching live on Tuesday night, or just take a look at that link right there in the screen, chatsports.com/GoBlue, if you're watching this on the channel on later in the week. Get a 125% deposit bonus. You put in 100, you get an extra 125, 200, extra 250, 300, extra 375. And the producer in my ear says we're going to bring it back for Michigan versus Ohio State this week and next week. It's a week and a half special. We've sent out a ton of these in the past few weeks. If you've got a Michigan football jersey for free from us, go ahead and type me in the chat right now. Go ahead and go to chatsports.com/GoBlue. Use the promo code GoBlue when you sign up and you've got to deposit $100 or more. Please make sure you do that first step. Chatsports.com/GoBlue. Don't just Google BetUS and go and type it in because it makes the reporting more challenging than it needs to. A delay on getting your jersey. Deposit $100 or more, you get $125, 125% deposit bonus. Once you make your first bet, email us, jersey@chatsports.com. That is down in the description of the video, or we're going to put it in the live chat and the comments. Jersey@chatsports.com. Send us your BetUS account number. We'll get some information from you, like your address and what size, and we'll send you off the Jordan brand Michigan football #1 Michigan jersey from Jordan. So go ahead and do it. BetUS, get going with our sports book partner, chatsports.com/GoBlue. 125% deposit bonus. Free Michigan football jersey. Kind of a no-brainer, right, Jack? Kind of a no-brainer. All right, next question coming up from Bill Graves. He says, #Michigan, of course. Do you think we should do more play action and screens? Play action's been the most successful part of Michigan's passing game the last 7 games during the Big Ten season. So, absolutely. Now, if you do it too much, does it become – it's like if everybody's in charge, nobody's in charge. If every play is play action, then no play is play action, right? It doesn't catch anybody off guard. So I think what Michigan's missing is intermediate passing. And I don't mean Michigan intermediate. Michigan intermediate's been like 12 yards. I'm talking about intermediate Ohio State passing, which is 18 to 30 yards downfield, and not just always over the top on those kind of like I'm going to catch in stride or jump a guy or not, and it's only one guy can catch it if you perfectly time it up. I'm talking about those kind of post routes or the drag routes, 25 yards in between, cut in front of a corner or in a zone in front of the safety, and have J.J. McCarthy step up in the pocket, fire over those linebackers and hit somebody. When the linebackers kind of run up for the play action, you've got a big gap there. Michigan hasn't done it all year. Whenever they've done it, it's been 5 to 8 yard passes or less, or it's going way over the top, which they've been hitting at about 10% rate after the UConn game. So that's there. On screens, it's been missing all year. So maybe they've got something in store. Zach Smith on our interview on the live show said that doesn't happen, that they store plays for after the year. But Michigan has not been a very good screen team at all this year. I think they've really underused Diamond Edwards. Still pending his injury news. We'll see how things shake out against Illinois and into the Ohio State game next week. Talk about the running backs, Blake Corum. How many rushing yards will Corum have this Saturday versus Illinois? Look, despite what you might think, and I heard a couple of haters on Twitter saying he wasn't hurt. Look, he was injured, right? He's got a leg injury. I'm not going to say exactly because I don't want to put it out there necessarily, but he's got a lower body injury. He's got an upper body injury. They're not anything individually that would keep him out of a game like he couldn't play. Clearly, you saw that with 162 yards against Nebraska, but it's painful. It's not helping him out in any way that's making him a better player. And this would be a great week if Michigan could only give him 10 to 15 carries, maybe a touchdown or two, kind of pad the stats for that Heisman moment against Ohio State. But we don't know the status of Diamond Edwards, and it's going to be not a great weather day for Michigan Saturday. So let me know what you guys think about this game. Blake Corum, how many rushing yards will he have? I'm going to say 121 rushing yards. Let me know what you guys think. I got 175 yards, 3 touchdowns from Patrick Brewer. He seems to be really thinking that Blake Corum's going to have a hell of a day. That would be a first for him to have 175 yards and 3 touchdowns. A bunch of 2-touchdown games. That 5-touchdown games, though, he had under 100 yards. So first 103 touchdown game he would have this season. John Blaze, my guy, 10 more bones. Thank you, John. Appreciate it. We need to do a Yoder tailgate game at the Big House. Beat Ohio State again. I'm down. I only went to one game this year after all things said and done. I feel like once you have kids, it's just not as easy. So I don't know. Was going to go to 1 or 2 more games, but something came up. Son's birthday party, vacation. But nevertheless, Jack and I have been here every Saturday. We've been doing our thing for our post-game shows. Will the O-line be dominant next year? I have no reason to believe they won't be. I do think it's critical to keep Sharon Moore as part of this staff. The change in demeanor, the change in approach from 2019, 18, which we thought Michigan had good lines. Disasters in 2020, right? Ed Warner, I don't know. We all thought he was one of the best offensive line coaches in the country. I think Sharon Moore might be. I think this Michigan offensive line might win the Joe Moore Award for the second straight year as the best offensive line in college football. Sharon Moore got a promotion as your main offensive coordinator. Keep him, but he's the kind of guy who's going to look for an opportunity to be in offense. Or I'm sorry, he's an offensive coordinator now, a head coach somewhere. So I think it's something to be said. What does that offensive line look like once Sharon Moore is no longer part of this program? I think Jim Harbaugh has hired well recently, of course, and he needs to do that again once Sharon Moore moves on. Make sure Michigan's offensive line supports the running game that Jim Harbaugh clearly seems to want to have. go ahead and follow me on Twitter, folks. If you haven't, it's at James Yoder. Jack, we're going to put that in the live chat. If you got me, Jack might put it in the live chat, but I'm coming up on 10,000 Twitter follows. I feel like we were just at 8,000 a couple months or so ago. I have had a good run. I've added like 500 or 600 followers in the past 10 days, really, since like November 4th. I just looked. That's 10 days I've added 600 followers, I think it was. So go ahead and follow me if you haven't. It's twitter.com/James Yoder, at James Yoder on Twitter. Just my first or last name. I'll tell you what, guys, I'll put my phone. If anyone follows me while we are live right now here on Tuesday night, I will follow you back. If you're watching, we put this on demand later on in the week. Just send me a link like, hey, couldn't watch live, but I'm following you, and I'll hit you with a follow back now. At James Yoder on Twitter. Jack just put it in the live chat as well. Got another question, though, coming in from Aaron Cooper. He says, do you believe that there's any chance Blake returns for his senior season? I do not, unless. 1% chance unless. That's it. 2 reasons, 1%. If both these 2 reasons happen. Number 1 is he gets terrible feedback from the NFL scouting, combine, draft people, where they say, Blake, you're going to be a 6th-round pick. You're going to be a 7th-round pick. You're going to be maybe at best a 5th-round pick. Then we think about it. He'd think about it, okay? I don't think that's going to happen. I think where most draft people have said is he is likely at best, if he tears up the combine, a late 2nd-round pick, most likely a 3rd-round pick, potentially a 4th-round pick, right? That's your best is the end of the 2nd round. Your worst is probably mid to late 4th round, likely 3rd round, early 4th. Okay, cool. What happens if that's not the feedback he gets after the season? Okay, cool. The number 2 is he still might go pro unless maybe a Michigan donor or a dominant YouTube channel, Jack, with 30 YouTube shows, somebody like that who does 100 episodes of an NFL programming a week on Amazon. A company like that, I don't know any companies like that, maybe Chat Sports, maybe we did a show with them that we paid him, thousands, tens of thousands of dollars a month or something like that. I don't think we can afford the money that would keep him away from the NFL, but there are brands out there that would love a Heisman Trophy winner running back like Blake Corum that looks the part, can talk the part, sell some whatever apparel you have, whatever you're looking for to sell out there, life insurance, Nissan Heisman House, Dr. Pepper, whatever it is. He gets a $500,000 million NIL deal to stay another year, then you're talking. So those 2 things would have to happen. The chances they both happen between now and mid to late January when you have to declare for the NFL draft, I find to be highly, highly unlikely.